manifesto, he despises women. What's going on in this kid's head?
Well, it's so interesting. When I was first listening to him, I was like, oh, he's angry with women for rejecting him. And then I started to have a different idea. Is this somebody who's trying to fight against his homosexual impulses? Was he angry with women because they were taking away men from him?
All right, folks, that's Dr. Robbie Ludwig on the Fox News Channel putting forth that theory. You heard Gloria Allred put forth her theory that he was a male chauvinist. Elliot Rodger was, and you know, I don't get either really one of them. But here to set us straight and to talk about this with us is our friend Dr. Jeffrey Gardere. He is America's psychologist. Hello, Doc.
Hey, how are you, Steve? Good to be with you again.
Always great to talk to you. All right, so let me ask you. First of all, male chauvinist. To me, male chauvinist always used to mean, or still did mean, I don't know, a guy who, you know, I guess looked at women in a quote, maybe it could be considered a sexist way. He looked at them as sex objects or a weaker sex, or it wasn't, you know, a male you called a male chauvinist pig. It didn't mean you're going to go out and murder people. But Gloria Allred was on this show and reiterated what she's been saying, that it's an illness, it's a mental illness defined by the American Psychiatric Association, and she said it was his chauvinism that led him to kill. What is male chauvinism?
Well, male chauvinism is someone who sees themselves superior to a woman strictly because they are males and they feel that females should have a certain role in society and should not cross the boundaries of those particular roles. But with this particular case, he was a male chauvinist, but you know, I think you have to be at a certain mental stability before we can even qualify you as being a male chauvinist, and even though that in itself is not a good place to be. This kid was mentally ill. So when we start throwing terms around like male chauvinist and misogyny and all of that stuff, look, this was a kid who was clearly crazy, and therefore acting out against women. Women became a symbol of everything he hated. This kid hated mankind, plain and simple. So for us to have these intellectual discussions as to whether he was a male chauvinist, I think we're really wasting our time.
Yeah, I agree. And you said, you know, women, but again, you know, they haven't described that since I've seen it, but the police chief of Santa Barbara said that the scene where the three roommates, the male roommates, were butchered, he said it was one of the most gruesome scenes he's ever seen. So, I mean, here's a guy who also, and then went into the deli and shot the young man as well and ran people over. So, I mean, did he really? I know he might have been motivated by not being able to get a date or being rejected by women, but it seems like you said that he hated mankind and killed both.
Yeah, exactly. And so this whole idea that this is a severe personality disorder, who was becoming schizophrenic, becoming psychotic because he was so disturbed. So yes, he did hate women. Yes, he picked on women. Yes, we see that male chauvinists pick on women, but this is not an intellectual discussion as to whether he was a male chauvinist or not. This discussion really needs to be what was wrong with him as far as his mental functioning, cognitive functioning, where he was so disturbed that women became a psychotic obsession with regard to rejecting him.
Yeah. Okay. Let me move on, and let me ask you. Let's listen to the father of the young man who was shot at the deli by Elliot Rodger. Here's what he had to say. Some of what he had to say.
Why did Chris die? Chris died because of craven, irresponsible politicians and the NRA. They talk about gun rights. What about Chris's right to live? When will this insanity stop? When will enough people say, stop this madness? We don't have to live like this. Too many have died. We should say to ourselves, not one more. Thank you. That's it.
All right, now, you know, you could chalk that up to, and you can do it better than I can, of a grieving father, and I can't imagine what he was going through. However, subsequently, he has been on other shows and done other interviews in a more, you know, calmer voice, a calmer tone, and still putting forth this political, you know, NRA, Republicans are to blame, and, you know, if only if they would act, my son would be alive. Is this a real, I mean, I haven't heard him say much about the shooter.
I haven't heard much either, Steve. However, I did hear an interview he did where he did talk about the mental health laws needed to be fixed. And so, yes, this is a grieving father. He picked on the NRA on this one exclusively in this interview. And it was part of his grieving process. And I can certainly understand as a clinician that with the proliferation of guns in this country, how he could do that. But really, as you and I have talked about and your audience has talked about, this is a very complex issue. It is about tightening up gun restrictions, but it's also about equally working with the mental health laws so that they can really help people who are in need of psychiatric treatment. And that's just not happening the way it should be right now.
Well, you know, and both those issues, I mean, the way I feel about gun laws is, you know, gun laws only take the hands out of the guns out of the hands of the good guys, and California has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country, and he got these guns legally. So, I mean, I think that speaks to that, at least in my opinion. But as far as the mental health, you know, he was seeing a therapist. What's the obligation of the therapist, and legally, what can the therapist say if they feel, and maybe they didn't, or he or she didn't, but what if they feel, hey, this guy is about to go off the deep end? What can they do, and what could they say, and what could they not say?
Well, this is my understanding of the event, Steve, and I've done a lot of research on this. The parents were very alarmed as to what this kid was saying about going out and killing people and his views on women, his psychotic views on women. And so they contacted the therapist. The therapist contacted some sort of a mental health hotline. The hotline then contacted the police, and that's what got that welfare check that was done, the third contact with the police of this young man. And therefore, what we're understanding is the therapist may have done the right thing. If you believe that your patient is a danger to themselves or a danger to others, then you must report it to the police so that they can be quarantined in what we call a 72-hour hold. And even then, if the police deem that the person is not a danger to themselves or others, as the sheriff's deputies did in this particular case, then the person will not be apprehended. And that's what happened here.
Right. So how do you okay, well, you explained that to a layman very well. Thank you. I didn't know what the responsibility or the legal parameters for a therapist doing something were. But all that said, like you said, the cops deemed here that this kid was not a threat, imminent threat or whatever. I mean, do we want to tighten up, I don't know, laws or procedures where it would become that much easier for people to be put away even though they haven't done anything?
And that's a great point. We do want to protect the civil rights of our individuals, of our citizens. So we have to find the right balance. And thus far, we haven't found the balance. At one time, many years ago, a person could have easily been picked up for mental health issues. Now the pendulum has swung the other way because we overreacted the first time, but now we're underreacting. So we need to find the balance of protecting the individual and as well as protecting society. I think in this particular case, if there was a triangulation, and what we mean by that is putting all the dots together, getting all the information. If the sheriff's deputies, in fact, were able to check and see that this guy had 2 previous interactions with the police department, with the sheriff's department, then that third visit, which was actually the welfare check, would have had a whole different there would have been a whole different perspective to it. And so the sheriffs missed the boat on that. And like some other states do, they did not have a mental health person accompanying them. There are some laws that require that and some laws that do not. And that particular place did not. If they had had a mental health person there, they might have picked this up.
Right. Doctor, always enlightening and great talking to you, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, Steve. Take care.
Take care. Dr. Jeff Gardere, ladies and gentlemen, America's psychologist here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Very interesting topic, and there's going to be a lot more debate about all of this. When we come back, it's Give Me 5. Don't go away.